And in the next half hour, we'll take you through stories from across the world. Vatican Treasurer Cardinal George Pell arrived in an Australian court for the start of a 4-week pre-trial hearing on charges of past sexual offences. Cardinal Pell is a top advisor to Pope Francis. He was summoned by Australian police last year and is the most senior Catholic official to face such charges. Details about his charges have not been made public. Cardinal Pell is expected to plead not guilty. He is on a leave of absence from his Vatican role as Pope Francis's economy minister, which he started in 2014. The pontiff has said he will not comment on the case until it is over. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad vowed to continue an offensive in eastern Ghouta near Damascus as Syrian forces advanced into the last major rebel enclave near the capital. The offensive is one of the deadliest in the Syrian civil war. One local insurgent group called it Scorched Earth Campaign. The advances have forced thousands of civilians to flee deeper into the rebel-held territory, where some 400,000 people live. The Syrian government is pressing on despite Western calls for it to abide by a 30-day countrywide ceasefire demanded by the UN Security Council. The Syrian government regained control over a major town and a number of villages in eastern Ghouta after eradicating terrorists from the area. Syrian army units liberated al-Nashabeh and surrounding villages from terrorist group Jabhat al-Nusra and its affiliated factions. Jabhat al-Nusra caused massive destruction by the terrorist attacks to infrastructure in and around al-Nashabeh. So far, the Syrian army has reportedly retaken 25% of the opposition-held eastern Ghouta, located on the outskirts of Damascus. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked Guatemalan President Jimmy Morales on Sunday for recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Prime Minister Netanyahu and Morales met in Washington ahead of the Israeli Prime Minister's address to the annual convention of the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee. The Guatemalan president announced his decision to move the embassy from Tel Aviv just days after US President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister will meet US President Donald Trump in Washington today. Slovakia's President Andrej Kiska has said that he would seek talks with parties and urge changes in government or early elections to renew public trust following the murder of an investigative journalist. On Friday, thousands of people marched in the capital of Bratislava and other cities for Jan Kuciak. The 27-year-old journalist had been looking into suspected mafia links among Italian businessmen in eastern Slovakia before he was found shot dead with his fiancée Martina Kusnirova last weekend. One of the men named in Kuciak's last report had past links to people who subsequently worked for Slovakia's Prime Minister's office. The report was published posthumously and probed potential abuse of EU subsidies and other fraud. Thousands held a rally in the Macedonian capital of Skopje, protesting a possible change to the name of the country, a demand made by Greece. Greece objects to the country's use of the name Macedonia, arguing it implies territorial claims over Greece's own northern region of the same name. Macedonia and Greece have agreed to step up UN-brokered negotiations this year to solve a decades-old dispute which has stopped Macedonia from joining the NATO and the European Union. Protesters have demanded the Macedonian government hold talks with Greece over the name dispute. Four people died and about 20 were injured in an apartment building collapse in Poznan, western Poland, most likely to have been caused by a gas explosion. The explosion destroyed 4 of 18 apartments in the building. Many households in Poland use gas for cooking or heating water. An investigation in the building collapse will start today. Swiss citizens have voted against abolishing the license fee for public broadcasters. 71.6% of Swiss citizens said no to the initiative called No Billard. The initiative called for the abolition of fees financing state radio and television. The Swiss government opposed the initiative, saying it threatened media diversity and would damage political debate in a country of 8.4 million people. If the proposal passed, Switzerland would have been the first European country to abolish mandatory license fee for its public service broadcasters. The vote was held yesterday. Thousands of people calling for gender equality marched through central London on Sunday alongside celebrities, activists and politicians. March for Women was led by London Mayor Sadiq Khan. It began outside Parliament in Westminster. The march ended in Trafalgar Square. Ireland's foreign minister has said that the UK's proposals for the Irish border were just a starting point in negotiations. The Ireland minister's comments came after UK Prime Minister Theresa May said she did not want to go back to a hard border with Ireland. May's speech was broadly well received in Brussels and at home among the rival factions of her Conservative Party. Ireland's Foreign Minister Simon Coveney said Theresa May still needed to spell out her approach to the Irish border, which will become the only land frontier between Britain and the EU after Brexit. Around 75,000 people assembled at Tundikhil grounds in Nepal's capital city Kathmandu to attempt a world record by reciting Dhampad, a collection of verses of Lord Buddha's teachings. Apart from establishing an official world record, the event was organized to promote Nepal as the birthplace of Lord Buddha. The event was organized in an attempt to register Nepal under the category of most people reading aloud simultaneously in the Guinness World Record, which as of now is retained by India. The Indian record had 46,660 participants reciting a devotional poem. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier said it was good for Germany after Germany's Social Democrats backed a coalition with Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservatives, clearing the way for a new government. Ending 4 months of uncertainty, the president also said that he will propose Merkel's election as a chancellor to the lower house of parliament. Angela Merkel has been acting chancellor for more than 5 months since an inconclusive election. Two-thirds of the SPD membership voted yes to a coalition deal in a ballot, a wider margin than many had expected. An Israeli driver injured 3 security personnel in an attack in northern Israel on Sunday. The driver was shot and wounded. The police said that the driver has been taken into custody after carrying out the attack at a market parking lot and outside a train station in the city of Akre. The police statement did not say who shot the driver. A policeman and 2 soldiers were hurt in the attack. "15,000 Spanish pro-unity supporters demonstrated in Barcelona against the secessionist movement in Catalonia. The protest was organized by the Platform for Tabarnia, a counter-independence movement which calls for an independent region made up of the Catalan cities of Tarragona and Barcelona. Political uncertainty remains in Catalonia after former leader Carles Puigdemont provisionally withdrew his bid for a second term as president. Tens of thousands of people paraded across a Selma, Alabama bridge to commemorate the 53rd anniversary of the 1965 Bloody Sunday March. Bloody Sunday refers to the rally on March 7th in 1965, which turned violent as police attacked peaceful civil rights activists. In contrast to the police violence that marked the original march half a century ago, the mood was celebratory at this rally. Pakistani Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi will visit Nepal for a two-day visit starting today. Pakistan's Foreign Office said Prime Minister Abbasi's visit is part of Pakistan's proactive and outreach efforts to engage with regional countries. And time over to national news. The second part of the budget session will resume in the Parliament today. Parliament will take up a discussion on the Union budget, which was tabled in the first half of the session, and pass it. The government has listed a few bills for consideration and passage in both houses. Both houses of Parliament will meet after a month-long break in the budget session. CBSE Class 10th 12 board exams will begin today. More than 28 lakh candidates will appear for Class 10 and 12 examinations. The Class 10th board examination has been reintroduced from this year after the government decided to do away with the comprehensive and continuous evaluation adopted earlier. A terrorist and 3 overground workers were killed in retaliatory fire after joint mobile vehicle checkpost was attacked by terrorists near Pohan area of Shopian later Sunday night. Buddhist monks, Tibetans in exile, residents of neighbouring country Bhutan participated in the multi-ethnic celebrations of the Tibetan New Year of Losar in Itanagar, the capital city of Arunachal Pradesh. A local cultural Buddhist society organized its Silver Jubilee celebration of the two-day festival. Losar has its origin in the 15th century and is celebrated according to the Tibetan calendar for 3 days. One of the most iconic and path-breaking athletes is no more. Sir Roger Bannister has passed away at the age of 88. Sir Roger wrote himself into the history books when he became the first man to run the mile under 4 minutes while he was still a student of Oxford in 1954. He had a famous battle with Australian John Lundy, coming from behind to win the Commonwealth Games gold in the mile in 1954. He retired from athletics after 1954 and went on to become a leading neurologist and advocate for clean sport. Fiorentina captain and defender David Astori passed away due to a sudden illness. Italian media said that Astori, who had played around a dozen matches for Italy, was found dead in his hotel room. Astori joined Florentinian loan in August 2015 and the club signed him outright 1 year later. He previously spent 6 seasons at Cagliari and one on loan as Roma. He was 31 years old.